And thank you for asking folks not to all get up at once. I may misinterpret that as a walkout. And I want to say first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. You look around. COVID has really taken meetings like this away from us for the last couple of years. And I look around here, and there's so many folks that I've known. Well, how about glad to see you coming in? Anyway, I look around right here, there's so many folks that I've known for so long. I remember 15 years ago standing in the rain on Andy's porch. Probably the person I've known the longest is Leonard and Karen. They knew me at least over 40 years ago when I had a full head of black hair. And we were in the Army together down in Texas. And I don't want to leave anybody out, but I could go through almost everyone here and how good it is to see anyone. I mean, to me, just to be able to get out and come to these meetings again is a pleasure. I am running for re-election in the 7th District. Caitlin Carlson is my local campaign manager. We're using Chip Salzman and Bonnie Brzezina as our consultant out of Nashville. I really want to talk about why I think it's so important that we as Republicans maintain an office, that we support our candidates. Ron Ramsey, when he was the lieutenant governor, over his desk, he had engraved in wood, it was a big sign, it said, "It matters who governs." It does matter who governs. If you look back, it's hard to believe now that even in 2010 was the first year that the Republicans had a majority in both houses of the legislature. I mean, it's hard to believe today that way. We're just in the process of turning over to having a Republican governor. But look what we've done in the last 12 years, is that we were 49th in education. Thank God for Mississippi. But now we're not quite average, but we're just about in the middle on both math and language skills. We still have a long way to go, and we're not going to give up, but we're a lot better. In 2010, the state was in dire financial states. Look back to even 2002. These taxes that we have today came because they could not balance the budget. And what do we do as Republicans? We started cutting taxes. First of all, we said, going back earlier, we're not going to have a state income tax. And by the way, that today is in the state constitution. No state income tax. We had all of these taxes where we had all of these taxes that they were putting on to try to balance the budget. They were shifting money around. They took money out of the roads. We've paid that back since then to try to balance the budget. We cut the F&E tax. And what did that mean? It meant that the Korean LG, you've seen those appliances, they built the first North American plant in Tennessee. Nokia, just 2 or 3 years ago, when we cut the F&E tax, they came to Ray County, one of our poorest counties, and built a tire factory there. And by the way, I saw in the paper, I think it was in Sunday's paper, maybe yesterday, that they're going to expand even bigger in Ray County. That's great. We've had the Volkswagen plant that came in, huge for the folks that live down there. And now we have the Ford plant, which will be the largest automotive plant in North America. And I believe that when that plant opens, that what we'll have is Tennessee will be making more cars than anywhere else in the country. And we're a right-to-work state. And we have a constitutional amendment that's going to be coming up to say constitutionally will remain a right-to-work state. Let's not forget that. When I've been talking lately to people, even in my door-to-door campaign and other things through emails, there's a lot of concerns right now about what's going on. A lot of these are national issues, but they're also local issues. Right. The first deals with the inflation and the cost of living. And I don't care what anyone says, I don't care what the Democrats tell you. We have inflation right now because all of this money they tried just forcing into the economy that the Republicans voted against, but they forced that money into the economy. You just can't throw that much money into the economy and not have inflation. And God forbid what would have happened if they would have passed the Build Back Better Act, which would have thrown another, not only $2 million, or almost $2 million, $1.9 million into the economy, but we would have had to pay the debt. Plus we have inflation. I can just tell you that's bad. Now, there's not too much that we can do at the state level. what we did in Governor Lee's supplemental budget that he released about the 1st of April this year, we gave an additional, this was over the budget that was presented earlier during the State of the State Union. We made another $283 million in tax cuts to try to help Tennesseans that are suffering under these federal policies that really now inflation's out of control. And we're just going to see interest rates going up. I saw today that with the way the stock market went, we are now officially in a bear market. So these are all due to bad federal Democratic policies. And we need to respond to that. Another issue that we have, just a little bit about my background on in the state legislature, is that I'm the chairman of the State and Local Government Committee. And General Allen was talking about some of the laws that we have and the problems in the jails. One of our biggest responsibilities is the Department of Corrections and what goes on in our prisons. Another part of our responsibility, all you had to do was turn on the news today, is it deals with elections and elections integrity. And that is one place where I've absolutely drawn the line. I have my colleagues that are on that committee. We don't even let these things get out of committee that the Democrats are pushing through. And by the way, the American Heritage Foundation said that Tennessee had the 4th most reliable integrity elections in the country. Now our problem was is that not all counties have paper ballots that you can back up. And I passed a bill this year, and it's a very expensive bill, but I think it's worth it to have reliable elections where in the 2024 presidential elections, all the counties will now have paper backup. So there will be no questions. And I met, we used the heart machines, and I met with those people. They came to my office, they flew in. They actually have a way when the machine, when the ballot runs through the machine, the optical scanner, it gets marked. So somebody can't take the ballots out of the pile and run them through again. Won't happen. If you do have to make a recount that involves going through every paper ballot again, they have a machine that they bring in that you can run all those ballots through again, and they mark them a second time. Now it will overread the first mark, but the second mark, we know we have good elections. Some of the things that you always talk about bills that you pass. But some of the most important bills are the bills that you kill. And what we did on elections, the Democrats wanted to have same-day registration. That's a disaster. We say that you have to register 30 days for the election, and that lets our election officials determine if you're a citizen, if you're a felon. Again, all of these things are people that should not be voting. We killed that bill. They wanted to mail ballots out to every registered voter. And if you think these other states have had issues with ballot harvesting, can you imagine what that would be like? We killed that bill. They wanted to put ballot boxes out there. And we have them around the city. You come and use them like a mailbox. And the Democrats probably in Knox County wouldn't be very happy the way these elections are. What if you had all these ballot boxes and one of them comes and pours a little gasoline down there and sets it on fire? You don't even know what's in there. We said, no, we're not going to do that. And I think that's one of the things, and I have no question at all, that after the 2024 election, when we're 100% paper ballot, that the American Heritage will say Tennessee has the most reliable elections in the nation. And we're not doing it by denying anyone the right to vote. We're just saying you're going to pay by the rules. One other question that comes up, because I've always had concern, there's a difference between mail-out ballots and absentee ballots. And Donald Trump says, I vote by absentee. He has no problem with those. But we're putting a watermark on the absentee ballot that will keep it from making it very, very difficult for anyone to counterfeit or use those in an illegal manner. So I think that the things that we're doing on elections, and I tell people, and I mean this, if you can think of anything that we can do more, I really don't want to, we're not in the business of suppressing votes. Maybe, I don't even believe these other states are, it's just the Democrats complaining. I don't understand, how come in Connecticut, where the only day you can vote is on election day, but in Georgia they cut out Sunday afternoon voting, and they said that's election suppression. And they have, 10 days, 12, I forget what it is in Georgia. But that's what we're doing. The other part, another big issue that I'm hearing a lot about is immigration. I was on the committee, the immigration committee, that met for the last 2 years. We had to prolong it because of COVID, limited some of our in-person meetings. That is a very, and first of all, I don't think there's any Republicans in the legislature that has a problem with legal immigration. We welcome scientists that want to come. I'm like Ronald Reagan. I feel like Ronald Reagan. America is the shining light on the hill. We're going to draw in the most intelligent people, the best talent, where they can come and literally their businesses can blossom, science can blossom, where they can't do that in some of these other countries. That's what I want America to be. But illegal immigration is a whole different story. This gets down to law and order. And I was on the immigration committee. Much of this was looking at these children that the federal government is flying in the middle of the night. We found out that there were 2 places, the Baptiste home in Chattanooga, and then there's also a home run by Bethany, who has other homes. The Bethany home was good. But here's what was happening to those illegal minor children that were being brought to Bethany. There's if you want to pull it up, I believe in yesterday's, it's either in yesterday's or today's Chattanooga paper, and they mentioned the work that I've done. They mentioned my name along with Todd Gardenhire, because we were the ones that were protecting the children. But there was sexual abuse going on between the people there against these children. We got that home closed, and it's closed to this day, to the best of my knowledge. And we did that not only because the federal government we didn't even know when they're coming in by night, by plane, putting on blacked out buses. You've heard about that. You know, when I heard that, I said, that's not happening. It's happened. It did happen. And we called in some of the people from the Federal Health and Human Services and had them testify. And I've talked to them personally about that. And they're very arrogant. But anyway, we shut that home down. And again, we're limited to a degree about what we can do in Tennessee, but we can make it very difficult for illegal immigrants to work here. Every time you get a job, an employer has to fill out a form I-9, but it really doesn't have much on it. It doesn't have social security numbers, any of those things. In Tennessee, this again came through my committee. In Tennessee, there's a thing called E-Verify. And this does go back to 2012 when we said we're going to do this with E-Verify. But what we said initially, and this came in 2017, any business that's over 50 employees has to file an E-Verify where they take a picture, social security number. I mean, this is all, it doesn't cost businesses anything to do this, by the way. But this really can ascertain if this is a legal immigrant that you're hiring or not. And if they can legally work in the United States. This year, a bill that I carried said we're going to lower that to businesses from 25. Now, we did get some kickback from small businesses. But anyway, we reduced, what ended up passing was reduced it from 50 to 30. And we're going to look at that again about I would like every business would have to E-Verify. It doesn't cost anything. It is some paperwork hassle. But that's one thing that we did. The second thing that we did is, you hear about these Portland, Oregon, and all these sanctuary cities where, you're illegal. It doesn't matter if you even commit crimes, come over here, nothing's going to happen to you. In the state of Tennessee, we passed a bill that completely bans the sanctuary cities. That will not happen in Tennessee. Yes.
Did we ship all those people to Oregon and Washington? And all the
I'd rather ship them to Delaware myself, but.
Why don't we? Why don't we?
See, I would like to put them on a bus and send them to Canada. Trudeau doesn't like what we do.
Well, there's a thing called kidnapping, so you got to be a little careful. But that's what Sharm Allen does with what she does, and it's the federal government. I mean, you can't pick people up off the street and do that. I mean, that's called kidnapping. But anyway, our sheriff in Knox County, and I don't know if we're the only county in Tennessee that does it under 287G. We're not.
We're not.
We're not the only one. But I think we were one of the first, weren't we, or not?
Yeah. There's only 3. There's only 3 counties in the state.
Yeah. But anyway, go ahead. Yes.
I think didn't Texas say, do you want to go to DC? Do you want to go to Delaware? They asked that question. Why can't we ask that question?
Well, we can ask the question, but the thing is, do we want to pay for all that? Remember, there's millions of people, or hundreds of thousands of people coming across the border. Now, we are letting, I'd have to leave that to our legal people, but the immigration really is handled by the federal government.
You could, pay them to go to the place.
I don't want to pay them anything. I want to kick them out of the country.
I don't either, but the fact that they stay here, you're gonna pay for them in food stamps, you're gonna pay for a phone, you're gonna pay for their schools, you're gonna pay for the hospital.
I agree completely.
If we paid them to stay up there every week and gave them a money order, stay there, go by and get the change.
Well, you know what, I mean, I don't mean to say this, but what they would do, remember, these are people that don't follow the law. They take the money and be back down here anyway.
No, if they weren't there, they have to go to the office every week and pick up their,
See,
card.
Canada has free healthcare, that's so great, so.
Well, I'll be glad to send them to Canada too. But anyway.
Mike has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Off this subject that we had earlier, on election.
Yeah.
Canada would welcome them, so it's supposed to.
Constitution says that electors, presidential electors, shall be selected in the manner determined by the legislatures of the several states.
Yeah.
In 2020, a suit was filed and a district judge ordered Tennessee to modify its rules. Now, just between you and me and the lamppost, I think that's an unconstitutional procedure.
Yes.
What can we do to prevent that from happening again?
We would have to get our Attorney General, the state Attorney General, to, to challenge it in court. And we've challenged a lot of these, what goes on in court already. We challenged, got them bringing the illegal kids. I think it was back in 2015. Now, this had to do with refugees. And, it's really easy to get confused between legal immigration, refugees, and illegal immigration. And we challenged the refugees. If you remember, that's when they had these, well, there were several million people ended up in Europe, and they were wanting to bring them over here. And we challenged things in court. We challenged what happened in these other states, the way the ballots were counted in court. But it would take our, I'm not an attorney. We have to leave that up to the experts that we have in the state attorney general's office. If they feel that they have a legal case, they can look at it constitutionally, they'll file a case in federal court. And I have to leave it to them.
Rick, what committees do you serve?
I serve on the, since I've been up there, I was on the health committee, but they took me off of that. Now, why in the world would you put a doctor on the health committee? I don't know. But I'm not on the health committee anymore. But I'm on the transportation committee, and I was the chairman of the ethics committee. And I've been chairman of the state and local government committee, and I was also on the finance committee for 2 years. So, and the finance committee was good because it really showed, how the finances and the taxes flow through government. So I thought that was very valuable. Yes, you and then you.
Me first?
You can go first.
What about putting our people back to work? Right now, I see signs everywhere, help wanted.
Well, you gotta give me the people. We don't have the people.
Well, yeah, we got people, but we're giving them handouts. When is that gonna stop?
We're not giving them too many handouts in Tennessee.
It looks like we're giving away enough to keep them happy.
Well,
When are we gonna cut off that spigot? That spigot needs to be cut off.
well,
It's located in Washington.
most of that money's coming from Washington. There's not
We
too.
have a state constitution, and they have a United States constitution.
Well, I know, but what we can't do.
We need to enforce our state constitution.
Well, we can enforce it, but the thing is, we can't pass a law that tells, it's called the supremacy clause of the Constitution. We can't pass a law in Tennessee that says quit sending any money to Tennessee. And by the way, it doesn't work.
We'll have your question quickly. They're ready to close.
Yeah.
So